It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. You know, for a long time, I've been telling the managed service providers that I know, even my friends in the document imaging channel that are transitioning into IT services, hey, if you're going to chase these small accounts, these accounts that only pay you $2,500, $3,000 a month in services, you're going to run into some fierce competition in the very near future. And that fierce competition is ramping up, my friends. There's major corporations out there that are going to bring havoc on those small businesses that are delivering IT services to the SMB space. So without any further ado, I want to get on my sharp board and I want to talk a little bit about this. First thing I want to do is I want to share with you some of the threats that I see out there. Folks, these are some household names. We've all seen these names before, right? Let's start out here with AT&T. AT&T bought the security company Alien Vault. You know, what could they do with Alien Vault? Folks, it's very interesting if you just open your mind up, right? I mean, think of how many small businesses are using AT&T. AT&T is providing them their ISP. Now they got a security company. I've talked about this before. Our friends over at Salesforce, you know, Salesforce just beat out SAP. They just beat out SAP as the #1 software company. Think about that. And so they own a company called Titanium, which is an RMM company. Salesforce is in the position to put together a help desk and start providing IT services to their customers. What else could they buy? Could they go out and buy them a security services company? Sure they could. Microsoft partnered with Lighthouse. Lighthouse, what are they? An RMM tool. Microsoft's in a position to offer what? Help desk services. I mean, folks, where could this go with Microsoft? Think about Microsoft 365. I mean, it used to be really complicated to open up a business and set up shop. Today, it's not that complicated. You can partner with our friends over at Google, get on Google for Business, whole bunch of stuff ready to go, right? You could get in bed with Microsoft 365 ready to go. Not that complicated. Don't need a bunch of servers in your closet anymore. It's all in the cloud. Our friends in Canada Bell, just partnered with AWS. Amazon Web Services, and a telecom in Canada. The other telecom in Canada, Telus, I believe it's called, they're partnered with Google. So folks, the telecommunications companies are really looking at IT services. They're looking at it in a very interesting way, and how they come together and who they end up buying and who they end up partnering with. Those are all going to be threats to those MSPs around the world, let alone my friends in the document imaging channel that want to get into IT services or just kind of planning on it today. And those plans they're creating, a lot of them, well, they look like the same plans we had back in 2000. Those plans aren't going to work. But ladies and gentlemen, I also want to talk about this company right here, ThomaBravo. We all know ThomaBravo. And I'm going to ask a question. When will the collective be sold and who to? ThomaBravo's like the grocery store for diversity. For a whole lot of organizations to go in there and just pick some of the diversity they want and add it to their own organization. And when they do that, how will that change the landscape? You know, if you haven't been on ThomaBravo's website, you ought to go on it. Because and just go to all their companies. Folks, here's two right. Let me get my pen working here for a second. Here's two I want to talk about right now. And I've talked about these folks before. But ThomaBravo owns both ConnectWise and Continuum. They put these two together as one. But if ThomaBravo owns them, doesn't that mean by default that they're for sale? I mean, ThomaBravo is a private equity group. They buy things on their own and they partner with other private equity groups and they buy up companies or major percentage of ownerships in companies. Well, guess what? Things are bought to be sold. When will ThomaBravo start, exiting some of these companies, and who will be the buyer? You know, you think about this, ConnectWise Continuum thing is a huge asset for the right buyer. This doesn't have to exist the way it always existed. This could exist in a whole different way. Can you imagine if AT&T bought Continuum and ConnectWise? They already got Alien Vault, and they started really getting into the deeper, broader deliverable of IT services. How would that change the landscape? Could you imagine if our friends over at Xerox bought Continuum ConnectWise from ThomaBravo? Folks, they were going to buy HP for billions of dollars. They could surely buy ConnectWise and Continuum. Can you imagine if Xerox bought ConnectWise and Continuum? I'm just throwing it out there. Think about it. Because they could write the check. And how would that change Xerox's deliverable? As a matter of fact, Xerox could pick up a lot of these folks on the board. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think when we think about IT services, and we're still using the mentalities that we were thinking back in 2000, 2010, we've got to really open up our mind to further possibilities. We need to go to ThomaBravo's website. Just look at this. There, folks, I mean, could you imagine? Could you imagine if our friends over at Xerox decided to pick up McFay or Sonic Wall? There's so many assets that ThomaBravo has here that would be appetizing for a whole lot of folks to acquire. And one thing about the pandemic, it drove a lot of value in our tech companies around the world, right? We saw the acquisitions, the roll-ups. Man, it was amazing. It was like 200 acquisitions in the IT space. I think about my friends in the print sector, had about three or four acquisitions, not a whole lot of excitement. As a matter of fact, one of the OEMs started divesting themselves of the stuff they already acquired. And so, folks, here's the reality. Things are going to change. New players are coming to town. And if we continue to deliver based on 2000 or 2010, and we're not prepared for the new players that are coming to town, we're going to get surprised. That's why we got to move up scale. Because if you move up scale, it won't matter what happens. It really won't, folks. If you move up scale and you concentrate on the right persona for the right customer, I think about my friend Milton Bartley down there at Image LLC. I bring him up a lot because he's doing it so damn good. My gosh, folks, 70 accounts. You know, he's on a run rate to do $12 million in business with 70 customers. Isn't that the kind of business you want? Even if you're a big, giant mega dealer, you don't need to sell 15,000 customers IT services because you're never going to do that anyway. And you're never going to be able to compete with the new players that are coming to take away those great relationships you might have already started at $2,000 or $3,000 a month. You need to move upscale. Move to those clients that are needy, that need you, that are willing to pay for that extra service and value, that white glove treatment. Those are the customers you need to look for. And if you don't think they're out there, well, you're crazy because they are. And like I said, who's going to go shopping at the ThomaBravo store? Because I guarantee you, some of this stuff's going to end up on the market. I want to talk a little bit about why I believe that to be the case. You know, there's a let me just go here. There's a lawsuit right now. SolarWinds Lawsuit claims private equity owners sacrifice cybersecurity to boost short-term profits. This story has two parts I want to share, especially with my friends in the Document Image channel. I want you to pay attention to this. The first thing is they're being sued because the claim is, allegedly, that both ThomaBravo and the other private equity group, Silver Lake, had 80% stake in SolarWinds. They sold about $500 million worth of stock right before they announced that there was a breach. Now, we'll see where that goes. You know, if you take the insiders that sold their stock along with them, it's almost $750 million, or a little over $750 million. So that lawsuit will play out in the courts. But what I want my friends to pay attention to regarding this lawsuit is this paragraph right here, and I want to get my sharp board working here because I want to circle some things because I see this a lot in the space. I see this from IT service providers too. Bodacious claims of what they do that one would scratch their head and say, is this reality? And there's a lawsuit. Part of this lawsuit is that SolarWinds was claiming that they could do things that they weren't able to really do, or they weren't investing right to do them well. So we'll see how the lawsuit pans out, but I think it's extremely important for my friends in the Document Imaging channel to quit throwing things all over their website talking about IT security when they don't know what the hell they're talking about, or they can't even deliver IT securities. Because if your customer, I should say, when your customer gets breached, because we don't think it's about if anymore, it's always about when. We have to presume that they even are breached. But when your customer gets breached, what are they going to do? When they have to start paying ransoms, and then they get these sharp lawyers that start talking to them. Well, I thought that company was well positioned to take care of you. Oh yeah, I did too. You know, I went to their website. It talked all about cybersecurity all over it. I mean, they were our copier company. I trusted them so much, I just signed up with them. You see where this could go? It could go in a really bad place. And so let me just read this. The lawsuit also alleges that many of the cybersecurity practices advertised by SolarWinds in the public comments and filings were either non-existent, or served as window dressing to pump up the stock price. Folks, are you doing that? Are you putting things on your website? Are you putting things out there in your literature to pump up your value? to make your customers think you can do things that you're not ready to do. Because cybersecurity, guess what? That's not an on-the-job training thing. You know what? You don't on-the-job train with cybersecurity. And those of you that think you can do that, you're insane. Go to your websites, take all that crap off your website, and figure out how to do things right. And when you go to the marketplace, make sure you're delivering the way you're supposed to be delivering. And I know you're all thinking, well, we're not SolarWinds, and the private equity owns them, and they don't care about anything but money. Your good intentions could be to help your customers. I truly believe they probably are. But good intentions and false advertisements are not going to help your customers, and they're sure not going to help you. But these are some things to think about. But more importantly, as you start to build out your IT business model, make sure you're going after the right customer. Make sure you clearly define your cost to deliver to that customer. Make sure you're going after the customers that'll pay for the value. Go upstream, because the competition coming is going to get fierce. But doing nothing, my friends, is crazy. Not changing the game is crazy, because we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck.